People join in hand in hand while the music plays the band. Lord, that's setting us on fire.
Welcome to the Music Plays the Band podcast. We're going to be sitting down with musicians, artists, band members, friends and family to talk about what drives them to create great music. Asking more than just the typical questions, who's inspired you or what music do you like, we're going to ask the why behind what motivates them to create great music.
People join in hand in hand while the music plays the band.
Home and darling, closer, stay with me tonight. Dance all night by the firelight. Come sun up and I'll be gone.
Scythian, and we're going to talk a little bit about their music. You guys go ahead and introduce yourselves.
What's up, I'm Dan.
Alex, Federica.
And we're brothers.
All right. And your sister's part of this too, right?
Yeah, unfortunately she had to run out to the van to get something.
Okay.
So
tell us a little bit about your music. What do you guys do?
Man, we're a mix. It's been always hard to categorize what we do because we started out as an Irish pub band almost, but our family's from Ukraine, so we grew up with Ukrainian gypsy type of music, Eastern European stuff. But then we also grew up in the Shenandoah Valley, up in the northern end there, Front Royal, Virginia. So there was definitely bluegrass elements that constantly filtered in as we were kids growing up.
Okay.
So we always just wanted to play what we love, and it's just sort of what we play now is a mix of sort of all those three. We call it kind of old time, good time music. It's the old time music, but it's from a bunch of different roots, traditions.
Okay. And other people call it musical ADD.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got the techno accordion, that's that goes along with
that. I don't even know where that came from, but yeah, that's definitely.
That always brings the house down at the Merle Fest dance tent.
Oh yeah.
We have a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah.
But I think almost the genre that we would say, you can't say the genre without the crowd.
Yeah.
It's to us that's a huge part of every show, and I think the music wouldn't exist without that, consciousness.
Yeah.
So the crowd's always we always think of it as they have to factor into the music as well.
Right.
So we love playing with the audience.
And I think it's kind of we were just laughing this morning because we found these old records of when we were kids, and we put them on, and it was like something from a movie because the soundtrack of our childhood wasn't like Bon Jovi or or it was like Ukrainian accordion polka music.
Wow.
We were definitely laughing about it because
that's a dark skeleton that nobody's heard. Yeah. So
no, but
to be honest, we're just kind of a reincarnated polka band, Ukrainian wedding band, but.
No, well, we grew up playing classical music predominantly. My mom graduated from Juilliard, and so when she had us, she basically started at the age of 3. We were playing our instruments already. I grew up playing classical piano, a long time played classical violin. Then we had a strong Ukrainian ethnic musical background growing up, and so we really weren't. We kind of grew up in a musical vacuum, so to speak, as far as the other types of music. So it was around college when we started discovering all the other traditions. We grew up hearing bluegrass all the time, but we weren't playing it. And then it was about college. We just kind of really just set out, into the deep. And it really was like really whatever moved us and grabbed us is what we played. And that's I would say is kind of a big hallmark of Scythian is, it's kind of if the music helps you forget about your worries, and cares for the week, then it's the song that we want to play, and we want you to be involved.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to your childhood. Like, what's the age difference between you guys?
Little over 3 years.
Okay. All right. So you guys, when you were younger, grew up a little bit different times. I mean, so.
Right, way back in the 80s.
Yeah, back in the 80s. So
before the internet.
So Alex, like, what's your first memory of music?
That's a good question. My first memory of music was, somewhere along the line, my mom would, put on a little cassette player and then plug in this little speaker and put it underneath our pillows. Mm-hmm. And she would start playing music for us the day she brought us back home from the hospital and put it underneath our little pillow. And it was usually classical music, but my memories of listening to these great classical violinists playing, and she would kind of slip something under her pillow, and every night we'd fall asleep to these melodies, whether it be cello, piano. So that was definitely my first memory. Music was always around us.
Okay.
And so my mom was very much, she kind of forewent her career, but she wanted to have children. So she chose our instruments the day we were born. She was like, looked at our hands, she was like, you're going to play the violin, you're going to play the piano, you're going to play the cello.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool because we get to do that now. It's sort of, you get this real connection all the way back. And our mom has since passed away from cancer, but there's a way that she's very much alive because what I do now, I get to play music, but she chose it. So it's a nice connection for me, but also she immediately would bring us home and start playing music for us. So that was our first memory, was just going to bed. At some point, it kind of, you wake into consciousness, but during that whole time before that, music has already been playing. And I think my first stage experience was 3 years old.
Wow.
I started playing the violin when I was 3, and I would basically scratch away a little twinkle or something on stage. And I'd be falling asleep on stage, and who knows, there was pictures like me being asleep on stage with my siblings up around me with a little tiny fiddle this big. Yeah. So we were very early on. My mom was always kind of getting us, what's the point of playing music was to share, and that was always what she wanted to infuse in us. It's like, the point is to share and be generous with your talent, that God gave you. So from the very beginning already, being on stage, playing for other people, that was just part of we did it as a family. So.
Yeah. And she used to always say, beauty will save the world. And so my mom was really a proponent of making things beautiful and exposing us to beautiful things. And just the experience, music, they said, it opens people's hearts in ways that nothing else can. And it's a way of uniting people. So you can see all the walls just come down when people are touched by the same beautiful thing, because they're all united. And I get to see that day in and day out is just when we play, our audience is like one unit, and they're like family, And to me, I feel very privileged to be able to have the vantage point that I have to look down and see kind of the magic happen, because there's definitely a before, then there's an after. There's a progression throughout an evening, and the music is kind of the key of just and how you craft your set and all that to kind of help the experience happen.
Well, and that's also one of the great things about a festival, whether it's a one day like the Shindig or like Appaloosa where it's a whole weekend, is people come up there and they get united by the music and what's going on, and you forget about all the other stuff that might divide us or cause tension, that kind of thing, and you're just up there, everybody's living together.
Right? Yeah. Everything gets more and more polarized, but I love music. It's like one of the it's almost on the level of magic, because here we have people who would otherwise might be at each other's throats, because we started out in DC right by Capitol Hill, so you can imagine, we had Hill staffers coming to all our shows, so obviously, the differences were polarized, but they were, at the end of the night, they were hoisting their glasses, they were arms over each other's shoulders, doing leg kicks, and I know, there was things that otherwise would have had them be at odds with each other. So we've seen it in action. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, to be to be able to work through a set, or like you say, Appaloosa, or like a Shindig here. You work through a day and you create a feeling, and then you're slowly making people forget about, wait a minute, we're actually family.
Yeah.
You know, I love that. I think that's one of the beautiful things in music that very few things can really offer the world at large. So,
Right.
we're, like Dan said, we're privileged to be able to do something like this. You know?
So, what was it that like propelled each of you to take music serious as a career as opposed to just a hobby? I mean, you talked about your mom's influence, but was there something as you got older that, you know, made you want to go for it?
Yeah, that's a great question, because you got to make it your own. You know, you can do all the stuff that your parents did, but at some point you have to make it your own. You know, whether it's music, whether it's faith, or like, you know, something you grew up being taught. Like, everybody has to make it that. And for me, it's hard to say. I think it was the old time music. It was, and the access point was Irish music, but there was something so powerful about old, simple tunes. But there's a way that you could see the effect it had on people.
Well, okay, you say there was something about it. Can you like pinpoint a little bit more specifically what that something is? That's sort of what we want to dig at.
Exactly. You know,
I was gonna say, to me, what propelled it was the audience.
Yeah.
Well, we were street performers out of school, so we needed gas money, and we figured it was a great way to get paid to practice. So,
Okay.
you know, we needed money. Our case would fill up. We'd have gas money, but then we would be inspired to, you know, wow, we only played like 3 songs over and over and over again. That's embarrassing. Let's get more repertoire.
Yeah.
So we kind of started out as kind of like just kind of for fun, but then people were like, where's your email list? I want to sign up so you can let me know when you're street performing. So Alexander was like, what's your band name? And we didn't have a band. We weren't even a band. He goes, Scythian. And then here's our email list. So people were signing up on it. So we had an email list, we had a band name, but we weren't a band because their audience was resonating, and they wanted to know. And then when we played a couple of part-time shows, just for our friends,
Right.
there'd be like 300 or 400 people show up, and the bar owners were like, "Who the heck are you guys?" And so we were like, "Wait, there's something that's happening that we weren't really quite sure of ourselves. There was a magic that people were responding to that kind of opened our eyes to us that, whoa, what's happening here is magical." And then it's only like through the years of touring that we start actually realizing some of the components that do make it magic.
Okay.
And I don't know. I think part of it is my mom's philosophy of music is an act of service, and so when you play, you're actually loving other people.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I don't want to generalize too much, but people get into music for various reasons. And you can tell, like, you know, especially in high school, you can see there's a guy that wants to play guitar because he wants to get the girls. Then there's a guy in high school who plays because he loves the music.
Right.
And so there's different motivating factors, and I think people were responding to something genuine, which was, well, we were playing for them. And because we were being generous, they became generous and opened their heart, and they started like getting, like, if we asked them to clap, they would clap. A lot of times you ask people to clap, if they don't sense that you actually care for them, they're not going to listen to you.
Right.
So all of a sudden we started realizing that there was actually, an economy of kind of generosity. We would get to them, they would give us back, and we got more energy, and we would give more, and then they would give more. So that to me, I think, was kind of one of the things that we realized, like, what my mom taught us was actually, it was kind of like, it didn't replace all the hard work of playing the music, but it was almost the key for letting people enter into your music,
Yeah.
which we were thankful for on the back end. All these years later, we look back and say, well, that's what was happening.
Yeah.
That's my impression.
So that kind of leads a little bit into a question I usually ask, but when you guys are up there playing, what are you trying to do with your music?
You know, well, I think there's 2 factors. I mean, of course, we want to connect, like Dan was saying. We want to connect with the audience. I definitely want, you know, you have 3 songs to basically break down a wall, and you know, in the psychology of an audience, there's a certain way where the audience is like, they are expecting you to. They're saying, okay, what are you going to do? They're very cautious before they decide to be, you know, in a certain sense, when they open up and accept you, they're becoming vulnerable. So you have 3 songs to prove to them that okay, it's worth it. It's okay. Just let your guard down.
Right.
Everything in the world is about being at work, about kind of being maybe strange. Like it's a little bit. You have your walls up. So we have 3 songs to break the ice and say, hey, we're willing to make fools of ourselves. We have to almost prove to them that we're willing to do it. We're not taking ourselves seriously. Then they can. And so it's kind of like the pressure's on really in the beginning. But I think it's very much worth it because if you can do that, all of a sudden you find yourself not just playing music. And I'm very drawn to the music in and of itself. So there's 2 factors. There's the connection with the audience. The other factor is there's something about the music, and you're asking me, like, what's the thing that made you, like, it's very hard, mysterious for me to say what it is.
Yeah.
It's like a calling. Something called to me, and it was the old music. And you feel like it's almost like there's, ages, and you almost feel like it's your own fiddle. Like, I have a fiddle from 1860. Who played that fiddle? How many tunes were played? It's almost like a magical feeling. Like, where did it travel? And you think of the tunes the same way. Who wrote this tune? What peasant? What nameless person did it? They didn't do it for the royalties.
Right.
They just did it completely. Just like how many town halls did people dance this music in? How many men and women met and then had families and then generations, and they were in Ireland in old dance halls, and now they're here. There's like so much power to me in the old simple tunes that it overwhelms me, and so I just when I play it, I feel like it lifts me up in a way. So there's this sort of a way where I can't put a finger on it. That's sort of like an artistic. I feel as though like I'm being called to do it by this ancient music. So there's a bit of that. I love that feeling, but it's dead unless you connect, because the music was made to connect. Because it was played on porches. It was played in people's kitchens.
Made to have people dancing.
It was made in dance halls. I mean, the point of it was to connect. So if you're playing the tunes and you're not connecting, there's something that's very like, almost like dead and aggravated about it. So there is a way where if I'm playing these tunes, I have to do honor to them, because the point is what they were doing. And when you do it right, it's amazing, because you see the magic of the music that's way larger than yourself. Because you see multi-generations dancing to the same music.
Right.
Whereas music today is like, oh, well, this is, Taylor Swift, you got to be in your 20s to 30s to dance this.
Yeah.
Oh, but if you're listening to the Eagles, you got to be in your 50s to 70s. Music today is that kind of partitions people and separates them. Whereas music back then, which I consider to be part of the magic, had 4-year-olds and 90-year-olds were all in the same dance hall dancing to the music, but they were engaged with it in their own specific areas, So, but it was somehow accessing everybody at the same time and appealing. That to me is like way more magical and incredible than anything that like a great songwriter could write today. I mean, to a large degree. And who were these people? Nobody knows. They purely did it as a gift. They're anonymous. So that's what made me pick up the fiddle and cross over from classical music. Was this? There's this huge tidal wave of like, I don't know, you feel like you're writing something, but you can't put a finger on it, which to me, I kind of like that, because it's larger than me. But you're part of something, so.
And then for me, it's a lot of it is, our motto is music among friends. And a lot of it has to be is like, if I'm not connecting with my bandmates too, that's we put a huge premium on chemistry within the band. So like a lot of it's, we connect with the crowd, but we also have to connect with each other. And for me, it's funny, because like a lot of people are like pure musicians. They could just lock away themselves in a room for hours and that's their food. But for me, it's actually the magic of making music together is what I'm trying to achieve. There's a kind of, the sum is greater than the parts, and that process to me I find incredibly invigorating. It's almost like, whoa, where did this come from, and how did I know you were about to do this? And I perfectly did what you did, but we didn't talk. And once you can kind of, the connection is like, to be connected to another human being in that way and creatively is just, it's an invigorating experience.
Yeah, you get to read his cues, and everybody reads everybody's cues, and you know where you're going as a band.
And it's unscripted.
Yeah.
And then afterwards you're laughing, you're like, how did you know that I was, even like, how did you know I was going to spin this way, or like, why did you duck your head there? Like, there's, because we're on small stages very often, like, we avoid near collisions, but it's just kind of like freaky. You're like, how did you even know?
So, like since you guys have gone from busking on the streets to now touring, pretty far around the country and even, internationally, like how's that changed your music, what you write, what you play? How's it impacted that?
Definitely has. I mean, for instance, playing Merlefest. I mean, we got invited to play Merlefest, and it opened a whole new world to us because at that point we had been playing mostly Irish pubs, Irish festivals. Okay, here's a whole new world of Carolina string music and Doc, and you're like, whoa, and it was powerful because it was the same principle. The roots music was, and so it definitely impacted its way into our set. We started playing much more Americana music. Okay. And we started incorporating that more into the sets that we even play at Irish festivals, or like we'll mix that in. But there's a lineage there. There's a connection between the Irish and the Appalachian music, right?
Sure.
So it all makes sense. But that definitely has affected us. And then we hang out with musicians backstage, or we're inspired by a band. They give us a CD and we listen to their songs. You have 8 hours on the road. You're like listening to bands, and it filters in, and I love it. It just kind of seamlessly filters in over time, and all of a sudden you find, this song. All of a sudden you write a song in the style of Cajun music because you stayed up all night in Shikori Hills and did a dance tent and listening to Zydeco till 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. Right, I love Shikori's dance tent, and we have some Zydeco tunes now that are that, and it's like that's part of the organic, I think, influence of traveling.
Yeah, and I definitely say like it's just the hanging out with the musicians afterwards is a huge part of it. I mean, it basically opened our eyes that we can do it if we want to. We can. Yeah. Before we thought, we have to just be an Irish band. We said just follow your heart, And there was a decision we made at one point. Said let's just go wherever the inspiration takes us. And we were afraid that we're gonna maybe kind of ride our way out of a circuit. They're not Irish anymore, so the Irish festivals won't book us, or they're not Americana enough because they're too Irish. Right. So let's just do what we want to do, and if it's authentic, people are gonna respond. And it's ended up awesome because we'll do Bluegrass festivals, like Americana festivals and Irish festivals. So we get to we feel very privileged that we get to do multiple different circuits. Yeah. And it kind of keeps it fresh for us, Yeah.
Well, before we end, is there anything you guys want to plug right now? Projects you're working on or anything like that? 2. Okay.
Next year is 15 years as a band, believe it or not, for us. Yeah. Nice. The streets were pretty far back, 15 years ago. But we're going to celebrate big. We're going to go to Ireland, and we're inviting fans to come with us. Okay. It's going to be our 15th-year anniversary Scythian in Ireland tour. It's a castle tour. The first one sold out. We had one. It sold out in 4 weeks. So we just added a second one. That's going to be November of 2019. Okay. So we're going to go to a castle distillery. Yeah. So we take a tour of a castle, and then it's a distillery, so we drink whiskey there. We're going to stay in one of the 2 5-star castles, a Dromoland Castle. Wow. So we'll stay there for 2 nights.
We'll visit a castle in Kilkenny.
And then, of course, you got Guinness Factory, and then we do 3 shows.
Eat White Castle, too. That's going to be a highlight.
All castles, White Castle. Yeah. So that's a pretty big deal. So we're limiting it to 90 people because we don't want it to get too big. Yeah. It's cool because we're there for 8 days. You get to know people. And it's really relaxed.
We do 3 shows. We do sessions, sing with people. We're on the buses together. So
and we kind of tell some of the history of the band.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. By the end of the trip, everyone's kind of bonded pretty well. So
actually, whiskey.com did a story on our trip because there's something called the Whiskey Ferry that shows up. And so whenever we stop, I'm a bus captain, and so is Alex. There'll be between 1 and 8 bottles of whiskey on my chair. So then we have these Scythian and Ireland shot glasses. So then we'll just do shots and raise our toast birthdays
it becomes almost like a whiskey. I mean, really, an unofficial whiskey tour because you get to sample all the whiskeys of Ireland.
Wow.
But a lot of fun, and so that's definitely a highlight for us is the Scythian and Ireland tour. So
and then our own festival, Appaloosa, right? Because we're always leaving DC area to find work. And we're like, let's start. This is a void. Let's start our own festival. So it's Labor Day weekend. We had Mandolin Orange and Gaelic Storm headlining this last year. Scythian, of course, plays both nights. Yeah. And
Fireside Collective was there. It's been there for the last couple of years, and about 20 bands. But it's a little bit of everything we've picked up along the way, like what Dave's doing here with the Shindig or Merlefest, and these incredible ways that festivals can create community for a weekend.
Actually, Dave came up and volunteered at our festival. And then people from Merlefest came up and volunteered at our festival. So it does become a family over the years.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a camping festival, Labor Day weekend. We had 6,000 people show up last year.
That's great.
Yeah, and so we do think that it has a great potential of becoming like DC's Roots Music Camping Festival. So
There's not much like that in DC, so we want to bring it to our community.
Yeah.
And make it's very family driven. You know, like kids under 13 are free. We have really cheap family packages. We grew up in a family of 10, so it's like we know how it is to have kids. You know, and we also know that the power of being introduced to music as kids. So we have workshops all weekend long.
Free
Both
workshops
days that are free that like we want, and a kids program, and like the kids are a big part. And I think that, you know, we have so many friends now at our age that have kids, and they're like, well, we want to bring them to a festival that we can just kind of feel a little bit comfortable to just let them run, you know.
But we have craft beer, we have Virginia wine too, so we have a nice beer garden. So
we know
big kids and little kids can have fun. So
playground for the big kids, playground for the little kids.
Yeah,
too,
so it's AppaloosaFestival.com, Labor Day weekend, and this year's going to be big.
Yeah. So we'll
Thank
invite
you,
y'all
guys.
come to our valley.
All right, thanks so much for having
Yeah,
us.
we're looking forward to seeing you set tonight.
Well, good questions there, man. You made me think, man. That's good. That's good.
Well, people join in hand in hand while the music plays the band.
Hey, thank you for listening. I'm super excited to share these interviews with you, and I'd really appreciate you subscribing and leaving me a review, 5 stars preferably, but I'll take any feedback you've got. And stay tuned, we've got lots more exciting interviews coming your way.